Today we will talk about the linear equations, and in specific the first order differential equation. In order to identify the first order differential equation that it is linear, it should have the form shown in front of you, which is y prime plus p of xy equal q of x, where p of x and q of x are certain functions. In order to solve the differential equation that is linear and first order, firstly you need to get introduced to the integration factor. Computing the integration factor can happen by finding the value of e to the power of the integration to the function p of x d of x. You can call this integration factor as function g of x. So firstly you identify the equation in front of you, that it is a linear equation, by identifying that it is in the form y prime plus p of xy equal q of x. Then this p of x, you just keep it in mind, then use it down here to find what is called the integration factor. After a while we will know why we call it integration factor. To find the integration factor, you just plug in the p of x value, which is in your equation, into the function g of x. Then you find the value of this function. After that, you multiply both sides of the equation with the function g of x, which is called the integration factor. In this case, multiplying g of x with, let's call it equation number 1, it will give you the following results. So it will give you g of x y prime plus p of x g of x y equal q of x multiplied by g of x. Now if we take on the side the derivative of the function g of x, so g prime of x, which is the e to the power of the integration p of x dx, the derivative of this function equal p of x e to the power of the integration p of x dx, which is p of x g of x basically. So let's change the color. So if we look here, so this one is basically the function g of x itself. So g prime of x equals p of x multiplied by g of x. So coming back here, we are seeing g of x y prime plus p of x g of x multiplied by y equal q of x g of x. So p of x multiplied by g of x, referring to here, equals g prime of x. So we are having here g of x y prime plus g prime of x y equal q of x g of x. Now taking the integration of both sides of the equation will give you g of x y equal the integration of q of x g of x dx plus c. Then from here we can find our y, which is our solution. So in this case, y equal the right hand side of the equation, which is q of x g of x dx plus c over g of x. Okay, now let's take an example. So we have an example in here. So we have y prime plus y equal x. From what we learned, how we gonna solve it? So first, we look at the differential equation and make sure it's linear in the form of y prime plus p of x y equal q of x. So now we have here, of course, it's a hidden number 1, so we consider the y multiplied by 1, that's the convention. So in this case, we need to identify p of x. So p of x equal 1. And q of x in here equal x. Then the next step, we find the integration factor for this linear equation. We said integration factor, which is the function that we can call it g of x, equal e, we said, to the power of the integration of p of x dx. In this case, p of x is 1, so it's equal e to the power of the integration of 1 dx, which equal e to the power x. Now multiplying this integration factor, so we have the integration factor here. Now we multiply it in both sides of the equation. Doing that will give us e to the power x multiplied by y prime plus e to the power x y equal e to the power x multiplied by x. Now, the next step, we need to identify the left side of the equation, which should be the result of an integration of our integration factor multiplied by y. Let's take the integration for both sides and get the results. So the integration for the left side of the equation is basically y e to the power x prime. So the left hand side of the equation is the result of the derivative of y multiplied by e to the power x. Now this equals x e to the power x. Having integration on both sides will get rid of this derivative, so it will give us y multiplied by e to the power x equal the integration of x multiplied by e to the power x is equal x e to the power x minus e to the power x plus c. Now we can find our y by rearranging the equation. So in this case, y equal x e to the power x minus e to the power x plus c, which is the right hand side of the equation with no change, divided by e to the power x. And this will give us, so from that, y equal x minus 1 plus c multiplied by e to the power minus x. And that's your final solution. Hopefully in the future we can make another video covering more examples so that we can get trained on how to solve various situations and various equation order of first order differential linear equations. Thank you.